While it's early in the battle against the Wuhan coronavirus in this country, the initial estimates regarding costs are staggering, especially when it's one of our own doing. We'll look at not just the economic costs, but the cost to liberty as well in this episode of Analysis Behind the News, where we provide the perspective that you can use to help save American liberty and independence. The Fort Worth Business Press published a report with the headline, COVID-19 Pandemic Could Cost the U.S. Economy $973 billion. They wrote, the disruptions caused by the coronavirus are wreaking havoc on individuals, families, the private and public sectors, the healthcare system, and the economy and society as a whole. In order to flatten the curve and prevent a major spike in infections, drastic measures have been taken. The inevitable result has been, and likely will continue to be, a strong shock to the economy. A strong shock is right. If you haven't looked at your 401k balances, it's best not to. Remember, those are long-term investments that will fluctuate with the market. Anyway, their estimate doesn't take into consideration the efforts of Congress to further devalue our currency with their socialistic idea that we can spend our way into prosperity with a stimulus bill. It was a bad idea under Obama, and it's an even worse idea under Trump. Nowhere in the Constitution is there authorization to spend money we don't have for powers and responsibilities not delegated to Congress. If you find that incredulous, perhaps you'll listen to Congressman Davy Crockett, who learned an important lesson from a farmer who said he would not vote for Crockett again because he had voted in favor of a bill that spent money outside of the constitutional limitations. As the farmer explained, it's not your money to give. Nor is it never ending as well as without consequence. If Congress passes and Trump signs the stimulus bill, which is said to pump out at least $2 trillion, then the effects to the cost of goods will be profound. And pair that with what the Federal Reserve has already done to prop up deflated markets. The Fed slashed rates to zero and began purchasing up to $700 billion of assets through a new round of quantitative easing, which is a tool that it started using more than 10 years ago during the last financial crisis. The New York Fed also announced it would purchase $4 billion of securities backed by commercial mortgages from federal lender Fannie Mae. Plus, who knows what else it's been doing around the globe to help prop up foreign central banks, much like it did during the 2008 financial crisis. With all of this liquidity being generated, it's only a matter of time until prices start to rise, because with the extra dollars in circulation, the purchase power of the dollar goes down and prices go up to compensate. Well, Congress is usually not concerned about its insatiable appetite to spend money. The American taxpayers should be, as more and more of our debt is interest that we owe. More spending and more debts leads to more money being created, meaning that the value of the dollar will continue to drop, already having lost 98% since the inception of the Federal Reserve in 1913. So, what's a few trillion more, right? Just remember that we have made zero attempts to pay off the many trillions that were pumped into the economy from the last financial crisis over a decade ago. But we wouldn't have this problem if government followed its constitutional limitations and let the American people lead. Draining the swamp will certainly have its advantages, but it will never happen when we, the people, allow the government to continue its current track of destruction to liberty, freedom, and independence. So, how do you count the cost of the Wuhan coronavirus to American liberty? That's actually, unfortunately, not hard to do. Read your Bill of Rights and your state constitution. What liberties did you have 2 weeks ago that you don't have this week? Liberty and government exist together, but it must balance. Too much government takes away liberty, as we're finding out, and not enough government isn't adequate enough to protect your rights. Remember that the Declaration of Independence states that governments are instituted to protect our God-given rights. That is its first priority, as well as protecting the independence of our country. Given that globalism is largely a product of government's making and has made this country dependent upon critical goods, for our nation's defense from enemy nations, how would you grade the federal government on protecting our independence? Folks, it may take an experienced scientist with many degrees to explain the ins and outs of a virus like the Wuhan coronavirus, but it takes little more than an informed patriot to know that the costs to our country are greater than what is being forecast. Our next issue of the New American magazine is scheduled to be completed late this week, and it will focus entirely on the Wuhan coronavirus while boldly claiming that freedom is the cure. If you've been following any of our COVID-19 coverage at thenewamerican.com, then you have a preview of what is coming. While it's difficult to do now, we hope you prepare to share that issue far and wide when it's available and when you're able. We feel so strongly about it that we are going to provide the PDF of the entire issue for free. Those that are subscribed to our top daily headlines will be among the first to know and to get this PDF. Sign up for these free emails at thenewamerican.com. Also, check out our other helpful links in the video description to aid you in your fight to protect your rights. And until next time, we'll see you then.